When legends talk, the world listens. That's exactly what happened when WNBA icons Sheryl Swoopes and Sue Bird shared their unapologetically bold opinions about rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. In a league where respect is hard-earned and headlines come and go, it's not every day you see two Hall of Famers dissecting the journey of a rising star and sparking a firestorm of debate in the process. Sheryl Swoopes, known for her fearless gameplay and straightforward commentary, didn't hold back as she assessed Caitlin's entry into the league. Meanwhile, Sue Bird, always the diplomat but never shy to speak her mind, added her own nuanced take. Their remarks weren't just your typical analysis. They touched on everything: Clark's raw talent, her adaptability, her massive following, and even the pressures that come with being the face of women's basketball at such a young age. What followed was an explosion of opinions on social media and sports talk shows alike. Fans divided into camps, some cheering Swoopes and Bird for keeping it real, others fiercely defending Clark and accusing the legends of not supporting the new wave. For anyone following the WNBA, it became more than just a conversation about one player. It was a reflection of generational shifts, evolving expectations, and what it really takes to be a superstar in today's game. So, what exactly did Sheryl Swoopes and Sue Bird say that got everyone talking? Why are fans so divided? And what does all of this mean for Caitlin Clark and the future of women's basketball? Let's break down this drama piece by piece. When people talk about women's basketball royalty, Sheryl Swoopes and Sue Bird's names always float to the top, not just because of their championships or their records, because they shaped the game's culture and became its fiercest advocates, even long after their own playing days. Their words have always mattered. So when these two legends weighed in on Caitlin Clark, the whole basketball world took a collective pause. Sheryl Swoopes is a living testament to courage and honesty in sports. Back in 1997, when the WNBA was still a risky new experiment, Sheryl was the very first player signed. Think about that for a second: the pressure, the spotlight, the uncertainty. But she didn't just show up, she owned it. Swoopes led the Houston Comets to 4 consecutive championships, bagged 3 MVP awards, and set a standard for what excellence should look like in the women's game. But if you ask fans and younger players what they remember most, it's her attitude. Sheryl never pretended. She never softened her message to please anyone, whether on or off the court. In interviews and on social media, she speaks her truth, with all the sharpness and edge you'd expect from a true trailblazer. If she thinks something's off, she'll say it. If she sees potential, she'll hype it. But above all, she keeps it real, and that authenticity means people listen, sometimes even more so now than during her playing days. Sue Bird, on the other hand, is the definition of cool and collected. Her style couldn't be more different from Swoopes's, but her influence is just as powerful. Drafted first overall by the Seattle Storm in 2002, Bird's journey was all about longevity, leadership, and setting examples quietly but firmly. Her teammates call her the ultimate floor general, and opponents have always respected her poise, her vision, and her knack for making everyone around her better. Where Swoopes used fire, Bird used ice. She wasn't the loudest in the room, but when she spoke, the whole room leaned in. Over 2 decades, she won 4 WNBA titles, smashed records for assists, and became a mentor not just in Seattle but for the entire league. Off the court, Bird's activism and thoughtful commentary on everything from social justice to mental health have made her a modern icon. She's always careful, measured, and insightful, offering critique, but never drama for drama's sake. This is why their recent comments about Caitlin Clark landed with such force. For both, the WNBA is more than just a league. It's their life's work, their legacy, something they fiercely protect. And Clark isn't just another rookie. She's the biggest women's college basketball star to go pro in years coming. in with more hype, more social media attention, and frankly, more pressure than almost anyone before her. Swoopes and Bird know what it's like to carry expectations, to be the face of a franchise or even a whole sport. They've lived that life, been through the fire, and emerged with lessons that only experience can teach. Swoopes, true to form, didn't mince words about Clark's first months in the league. She talked openly about the challenges Caitlin was facing, the physicality, the defense, the grind of playing against grown women night in and night out. Some fans saw this as tough love, a kind of veteran's rite of passage. Others felt Swoopes was being unnecessarily harsh, maybe even jealous. But that's the thing about Sheryl, she's not worried about being liked. Her loyalty is to the game and to the truth as she sees it. She's seen the next big thing come and go, and she knows what it takes for someone to stick. Sue Bird, meanwhile, took a more nuanced approach. She agreed with some of Swoopes' points, especially about how difficult the WNBA can be for a rookie, no matter how decorated. But Bird also pointed out how much pressure Clark is under, not just from the league, but from the media and the fans who expect her to be a savior from day one. Sue stressed the importance of patience, not just for Clark, but for everyone watching her. Adjusting to the pro game takes time, and Bird believes it's unfair to judge someone's whole career based on a few months. No matter how hyped they are, their comments didn't just spark a debate about Clark, they kicked off a much bigger conversation about the state of women's basketball. Fans split into camps. Some echoed Swoopes' tough love mantra, saying Clark needs to prove herself the way every other legend did, through hard work, resilience, and humility. Others sided with Bird's more protective stance, urging patience and warning against putting too much pressure on a young player who's still finding her way. Social media lit up with opinions, hot takes, and arguments, showing just how much these legends still matter to the narrative of the league. But beneath the surface, something even deeper was at play. Swoopes and Bird weren't just talking about Clark, they were talking about what it means to be great, about how the game itself is evolving. The WNBA they built isn't the same as it was in 1997 or even 2010. There are bigger contracts now, more attention, more investment, and yes, more criticism. Stars like Caitlin Clark arrive with millions of followers before they play a single pro minute. The scrutiny is relentless, the expectations sky high. For old-school legends like Swoopes and Bird, that's both exciting and a little worrying. They want the league to grow, but they also want the culture and work ethic they helped create to stay intact. For Swoopes, pushing the next generation isn't about tearing them down. It's about protecting the legacy of those who came before. For Bird, it's about ensuring the league is a place where new stars can thrive, but also where they're allowed to be human and make mistakes. They don't always agree, but both care deeply. That's why their words matter so much. The debates, the headlines, the arguments, they're all signs of a league that's alive and growing. So when these two legends share their strong opinions, the world of women's basketball listens, not just out of respect, but because their voices are rooted in lived experience and a genuine desire to see the game reach new heights. Whether you agree with Swoopes' tough love or Bird's nuanced patience, one thing is clear: their influence is still shaping the present and the future. And Caitlin Clark's journey is just the latest chapter in a much bigger story. When the news first broke that Sheryl Swoopes had some strong words about Caitlin Clark, basketball fans everywhere leaned in a little closer. Swoopes was speaking on a podcast. Her tone direct and her message crystal clear. Caitlin Clark, for all her hype and college heroics, wasn't quite there yet. She talked about the realities of the league, how much faster, stronger, and more physical it is compared to college ball, and how the media frenzy can sometimes set up young players for a rude awakening. Swoopes didn't shy away from calling it like she saw it. She pointed out Clark's struggles with turnovers, adjusting to the relentless defense, and even hinted that all the attention Clark was getting wasn't always deserved. At least not until she'd proved herself on the pro stage. To some fans, this sounded harsh, maybe even a little bit jealous. But to others, it was just the reality check the new generation needed. Social media lit up. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere you looked, people were quoting Sheryl's words. Some praised her honesty, saying this was what being a real leader looks like. Someone who tells the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. She's not hating, she's just keeping it real. This became a common reply under clips of the interview for many old-school WNBA fans. It felt good to see one of the originals demanding respect for the league and its standards. But then there were the fans who saw things differently. They felt like Swoopes was coming down too hard on Clark. A young woman barely a few months into her professional career, shouldering the hopes and dreams of a new generation of fans. They pointed out how much pressure Clark was under, not just to perform, but to bring new viewers to the league, boost ticket sales, and carry the weight of being a game changer. To them, Swoopes' comments weren't tough love. They were a little too sharp. Why not support the new stars? People asked. Isn't the league stronger when the legends lift up the rookies instead of knocking them down? Enter Sue Bird. True to form, Bird approached the situation with her trademark calm and empathy on a sports roundtable a few days after Swoopes' comments went viral. Sue was asked directly about Clark's rocky start and Swoopes' take. Sue agreed in part that the jump from college to the pros is huge, something even the best rookies struggle with. She remembered her own struggles early in her career, the sleepless nights after a bad game, and how long it took her to feel truly comfortable running a pro offense. But Sue also made it clear she didn't think Clark deserved extra criticism just because of the hype. If anything, she said, Clark's courage to keep showing up and trying even when things aren't going smoothly was a sign of her potential, not her shortcomings. Sue's comments acted like a bomb for some of the tension Swoopes had stirred up. She reminded everyone that the spotlight Clark was under wasn't of her own making. She didn't choose the media circus. She just plays, Bird pointed out. Sue emphasized that the league was changing, and so were the expectations for rookies. She asked fans and former players to give Caitlin room to grow, to let her make mistakes and learn, just like every legend did. Bird talked about the importance of mentorship and how tough conversations can happen without tearing someone down. We can push her to be better without forgetting she's still finding her way, she said. The fan reactions to Sue's words were immediate and passionate. Some felt validated, finally seeing a legend with empathy, who remembered what it felt like to be young and overwhelmed by expectations. Others still sided with Swoopes, arguing that the league is tough for a reason. And if Clark can't handle criticism from the greats, she won't survive long term. What became clear, though, is just how much these two legends, Swoopes and Bird, still shaped the conversation. Their words didn't just spark a debate about one player, but about the culture of women's basketball itself. Some fans even started drawing generational battle lines. Older fans who grew up watching Swoopes grind out wins in sold-out arenas tended to echo her call for accountability and high standards. They respected her earn your stripes attitude. Younger fans, many of whom discovered the women's game through viral college clips and social media, leaned more towards Bird's approach, uplifting, patient, understanding. Let her be a rookie. It became a rallying cry, as if protecting Clark meant protecting the hope of the league's next golden era. All the while, mainstream sports media ran with the story. Talk shows debated whether Swoopes was right to call out Clark so early. Podcasts and YouTube channels dissected every quote, comparing them to past rookie struggles. For weeks, it seemed like every conversation about the WNBA came back to this moment, a rookie in the crosshairs. Two legends drawing lines in the sand and fans passionately arguing over what the future of the league should look like. Caitlin Clark, for her part, tried to stay above the fray. In post-game interviews, she kept things classy, thanking her teammates, admitting her struggles, and promising to keep working. Reporters asked her about Swoopes' comments, and Clark smiled, said she respected all the legends and hoped to earn their praise through her play. "It's all part of growing up," she said. "I just want to get better every day." But even Clark's humility became a talking point. Some took it as proof that she's got the right mindset, that she's tough enough to take criticism and keep moving. Others saw it as a sign that maybe the pressure was getting to her, that the expectations placed on young stars are sometimes just too much. What's fascinating is that this conversation quickly stopped being just about basketball. It became about how we treat young athletes, about the responsibilities of legends to support challenge the next generation, and about the soul of the league itself. Is greatness about overcoming tough love or about being given the space to grow? Is criticism a badge of honor or a burden? And who gets to decide? For a few weeks at least, everyone had an opinion. But if you listened closely, you could hear something deeper in the noise. Underneath the arguments, the tweets, and the hot takes, there was a shared love for the game and a fierce hope for its future. Swoopes, Bird, Clark, and all the fans arguing in the stands and on their phones, they all want the same thing: for women's basketball to keep rising, to keep inspiring, to never lose that fighting spirit. In a way, this wasn't just drama. It was passion. It was proof that women's basketball matters and that its stars past and present are more invested than ever in seeing the next generation shine, even if it means a few tough conversations along the way. While the debate over Caitlin Clark, Sheryl Swoopes, and Sue Bird burned hottest online, something subtle but important was happening beneath the surface. The WNBA, often overlooked by mainstream sports media, suddenly found itself at the center of national conversation. ESPN shows that rarely even mentioned women's hoops were now opening there. Broadcasts with discussions about Clark's potential and the wisdom or supposed harshness of the league's veterans. It was messy, sometimes even exhausting. But it meant something big. People were finally paying attention and they were emotionally invested. Caitlin Clark found herself in the middle of it all, and it wasn't just her jump shot being analyzed, but every word she spoke, every reaction on the bench, even her body language after a tough loss. Reporters crowded her after every game, looking for sound bites, waiting to see if she'd clap back at Swoopes or get teary when Bird's comments came up. But Clark, still so early in her career, handled the pressure with a level of maturity that caught some people off guard. She repeated again and again that she respected the greats, that criticism was part of being a pro, and that she was learning on the job. For many, this was proof that the league's future was in good hands. Star who understood both the weight of expectations and the value of humility. But behind the scenes, teammates, coaches, and even rivals noticed something else: Clark's ability to absorb everything, both the praise and the scrutiny, and turn it into fuel. Practices got sharper. Her decision-making got quicker. She'd get knocked down, but she'd get up, adjust, and keep going. For longtime fans of the league, this was the kind of response that separates the merely talented from the truly great. It wasn't just about scoring points. It was about character, about resilience, about being able to handle weight or the game. The media, or even legends like Swoopes and Bird, could throw her way. The broader effect was equally powerful. Other rookies and young players started speaking out about their own journeys. Some admitted the transition was tough, harder than they'd expected. Others said the spotlight on Clark took some of the pressure off them, letting them focus on their game. Veterans like Swoopes and Bird, meanwhile, found themselves being quoted, debated, and sometimes even challenged by younger players who grew up watching them. There were conversations on podcasts, at team dinners, in group chats about what kind of league the WNBA was becoming and what values should define it. For fans, it was both thrilling and confusing. On one hand, there was pride in seeing the sport get so much attention, in seeing new stars become household names. On the other hand, some worried about whether the league was changing too fast, whether celebrity culture and social media drama were overshadowing what happens on the court. But as the season unfolded, something beautiful started to emerge. A sense of community, shared investment in not just Clark's story, but the league's entire future. Sheryl Swoopes, 4. Her part doubled down. She gave more interviews, clarifying that her comments weren't personal. They were about holding the league to a high standard. She reminded everyone that criticism from legends is part of the tradition in every great sport. She'd been pushed, too, back in her day, and she'd come out better for it. Swoopes wanted Clark canned every rookie. To know that being great means accepting both the cheers and the critiques. Sue Bird continued to play her role as the calm voice of reason. She invited Clark for a private chat after one particularly tough game, encouraging her, offering advice, and reminding her to block out the noise and trust your work. Bird also urged fans to keep things in perspective. "She's got a target on her back now," Sue said in one interview, "but that's only because she's good enough to matter." As the season went on, Clark's play began to settle. Turnovers dropped, her shooting percentage rose. More importantly, she looked less rattled, more comfortable, and even started showing flashes of leadership, talking up her teammates, demanding more from herself, and not shying away from big moments. Every time she took a hard foul, got up, and calmly hit her free throws. A new section of fans started to believe. Maybe, just maybe, this was how legends are born, by now. The debate over Swoopes' and Bird's comments had evolved into something more meaningful, a conversation about legacy, growth, and what it means to belong at the highest level. Younger fans, inspired by Clark, began learning about Swoopes and Bird, watching old highlights, and realizing that greatness doesn't come from hype, but from perseverance and the willingness to face criticism head-on. The league, too, found itself growing in response. Ticket sales went up, ratings soared. More little girls and boys wore Clark's jersey. But some started rocking vintage Swoopes or Bird shirts, too. Realizing that this was all part of a bigger story, a story about women lifting each other up, challenging each other, and refusing to accept anything less than the best. Through it all, a message from both legends and rookies was the same. Women's basketball is here to stay. It will grow. It will change. And every debate, every headline, every tough conversation is proof that the sport matters more than ever before. Caitlin Clark's journey under the microscope. Surrounded by legends, pushed by criticism, and lifted by hope, became more than just a rookie storyline. It was a symbol of how the WNBA is evolving and how greatness is forged, not just through talent, but through the fire of expectation, scrutiny, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. And for fans, that's something worth celebrating. And now, it's your turn. The debate around Sheryl Swoopes, Sue Bird, and Caitlin Clark isn't just about basketball. It's about how we support and challenge the stars of today and tomorrow. So, what do you think? Was Swoopes right to keep it real with her tough love? Or does Bird's message of patience and growth hit home for you? Do you see Clark as the next legend in the making? Or do you think she still has a lot to prove? Jump into the conversation, share your thoughts in the comments, talk about your favorite WNBA moments, or tell us what greatness means to you. Whether you're Team Swoopes, Team Bird, Team Clark, or somewhere in between, your voice matters. Women's basketball is on the rise, and every fan, every opinion, and every story helps build its future. Let's keep supporting the game, lifting each other up, and celebrating every moment, no matter which side of the debate you're on. The journey's just getting started.